the first female serial killer of America, and also the first Oscar win for Charlize Theron. Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new movie review, and this movie review is going to be for a biography film, or technically one of those biography films about real-life serial killers. And this was for what was known to be the film about the first female serial killer in America around the 80s, and that, of course, female killer was none other than Aileen Wuornos. So yeah, guys, the movie I'm going to be reviewing is for the biography real-life serial killer film directed by soon-to-be Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins, as of course none other than 2003's Monster. Yeah, this was the first film Patty Jenkins directed, and before she directed Wonder Woman, this was the only one she did. She just disappeared after that, until she directed the Wonder Woman films. But yeah, how's this plot go? Well, this is the true story of serial killer Aileen Wuornos, who was convicted of luring men to their death and eventually executed in 2002. Then in 1989, she was working as this prostitute and finally makes a friend where she meets and begins a relationship with a young woman named Sylvie Wall, based off her real-life lover Tyria Moore. Determined to straighten out her life, she tries to find legitimate work but with little education and limited social skills. She fails at every turn. She starts working as a hooker, hitching rides along the local interstate highway, and after robbing a few clients, has an encounter with a vicious client whom she kills in self-defense. After that, however, she just takes to killing clients, taking her money and car, and once arrested, she claims self-defense, but is eventually convicted. We all know how that goes. So, yeah. So when the film was upon release, Monster had its world premiere at the AFI Fest on November 16, 2003, and then on February 2004, it premiered at the 54th Berlin International Film Festival, where it completed for the Golden Bear, while third won the Silver Bear for Best Actress. The film was theatrically released in the United States on Christmas Eve, December 24, 2003, by Newmarket Films. Monster then received positive reviews from critics and achieved box office success, grossing $64 million worldwide on an $8 million budget. And of course, it was praised by critics and most people, but several people who knew Wuornos criticized the movie for portraying her as a victim and her victims as villains. As for my reaction, well, I ironically remember wanting to see this movie in high school, but I was never allowed to see it due to how vulgar and violent it was. And it was the first time I had learned of Aileen Wuornos and the infamous murder cases she was connected to. Eventually, I saw it around my final year of high school, and I gotta say, I think this would have to be tied with Mad Max Fury Road, my favorite performance from Charlize Theron. And I'm glad she won the Oscar for this role. Believe it or not, guys, during production of this movie, she actually went through so many transformations for this role that you can't even tell it's her. She literally gained weight, shaved off her eyebrows, colored her hair, and contacts and dentures to change her appearance completely. And never once did I think I was seeing Theron acting. She really became Wuornos during filming this. In other hands, Monster could have easily been overwrought, overly sadistic, over-sentimental, and too heavy on the melodrama, which would have done an interesting and more complex than one would think serial killer and injustice. Monster, however, turned out to be a somewhat near-flawless film that has a real sense of the time, the brutality of the crimes, and also the case's complexity. The story of Aileen Wuornos here is told here as more than just a serial killer film. It is instead a powerful film told with harrowing chills and tender humanity, with Wuornos herself portrayed as more than just a monster without being glorified or over-humanized. Now when it comes to my reaction to serial killer films, or real-life serial killer films overall, I usually don't see too much of a reason for a serial killer film to be made, as far as improving or inspiring the world, but I guess a few of them can be a little educational, but again, I don't know how necessary this education is or could ever be for society. However, I guess if one understands the background of this character, and how it directly influenced this character to become who she was, maybe educational in just that, understanding what makes these kind of people tick. And yet, however, Monster still has its moments of warmth and humor, like Alien's rather misguided attempts to pursue a new career led to a few unexpected laughs out of me, while her roller disco kiss with lesbian girlfriend Selby is remarkably touching. There's also a brief but moving appearance by Bruce Dern as Alien's only real friend, and his speech about survival is one of the great understated moments of the film. Like, technically, Bruce Dern only has like a few scenes in this movie. His character doesn't really appear. He only has like a few scenes, and that's about it for his character, really. So he doesn't really play much of a role. And plus, there's also Christina Ricci of Addams Family fame as Selby Wall, who plays off against Theron admirably. And just so you know, guys, Selby's actually based off real life lover Tyra Moore. The reason why they didn't use Tyra Moore's name for this is because Tyra Moore didn't want her name to be put in this film, so they had to switch her name. Like, where Alien is loud and confrontational, Shelby is shy, quiet, and for the most part, rather kind of sweet at times. I mean, but she does get rather penitent at times, and Ricci manages to just about convince that she can remain innocent while begging Alien to start prostituting herself for money again. Like, what's more is they have a natural chemistry, do generally seem to love one another, even when screaming at each other in alcohol-fueled frustration. Although I do wish that her character had a little more development, I was more vividly drawn. The supporting cast all around are strong, if not burning in memory as much or as long as Theron. Monsters is of course directed beautifully by Patty Jenkins, who like I said earlier, would go on to direct Wonder Woman in 2017 and its sequel in 2020, and I think maybe she'll be directing the third film, but we'll have to see. And production values are similarly terrific, especially in the gritty and classy cinematography that perfectly captures the dark subject matter. The music is used sparely, but when used, it's very evocative of the period. The story is told in a good way, like it doesn't justify Alien's murders, but it helps you understand better what was driven her to commit these horrible murders. Normally we just read about murders in the papers or see it on the news. All we think is that those who commit these murders are horrible monsters, but there is always more behind it than it meets the eye, and this movie shows that perfectly and emotionally. Now, do I have a bad quality of this film? Yes, I do. If I did have a bad quality of this film, the bad quality I have with this film is I would kind of like to see a bit more fleshing out of her background, the process that led up to her death sentence. The major flaw in this whole premise is that it may have been as I was told entirely from her point of view, which causes some dissonance between the person we see and her ultimate fate. And it comes across as kind of a bit unfair. A little bit, but that's just me anyways. But anyway, despite that one bad quality, Monster overall is a well-directed and a well-acted film by a phenomenal lead actress, and if you can handle films about real-life serial killers, this is my recommendation, if you can. Then I would give this film a watch for sure. But anyway, I think that's all I have to say for Monster. That's pretty much it for my review of Monster, and if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Monster, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are a Charlize Theron fan and want to see the role that launched her into the spotlight, then I would give this movie a watch and then buy it, add to your collection. And if you're wondering how I'm going to give Monster, I'm going to give Monster a 9 out of 10. And there we go. That's pretty much it for my review of Monster. I have no idea what video I'm going to make next, but we'll just have to see what happens. But I kind of play it around by ear now. I mean, it's going to be really hot this weekend. My place is going to be a bit of a heat wave, so who knows if how many videos I'm even going to make this week. But until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.